Hello students, welcome to BTech360. A lot of students and parents have been asking us to cover this particular university, which is Christ College now, which is also called the Christ University. Now, Christ University originally started from Bangalore in 1969, became a deemed university in 2008, but it also has campuses in Noida. Now, much of the data that I have at this point in time, I don't know whether it covers Noida also, but let me talk about Christ University for the data that we have at this point in time, which has been submitted to the Government of India and NRF and all those things. We researched almost whatever we can. The data is sparse, but still, it will make some sense for a lot of parents and students when they're taking a decision of admitting their ward into Christ University. Let me take you through this data. Before I show you anything else, my small request to all of you is, please subscribe to BTech360. It's very important for us to know that you're actually supporting us. We are also aiding you, helping you in taking that decision. So please do subscribe to BTech360. Now about Christ University, let me take you through some of the information. We're talking of the placement. So what we have at this point in time is how many students are admitted in the college, university, and we are only talking about BTech at this point in time, remember that. We'll also cover at some point in time Christ University for the entire university on career360.com. At this point in time, we're covering only on BTech360 only, and only the BTech stats of Christ University. We're going to talk of the placements, the salary data, everything. We're going to talk about it at this point in time. Now, as I told you, this was earlier called a Christ College in 1969 and became a deemed university in 2008. It became a deemed university. So at this point in time, it's a university, right? And it's a private university, of course. Campus is 75 acres in the heart of Bangalore. Now, Bangalore has a very unfair advantage that people who study in Bangalore typically get a job because there's so much of industry, companies and all sitting there. Even if you're unemployed from the campus placement process, you can find a way of getting into a decent company at some point in time. So that's an advantage that Christ has, that it is located in Bangalore. The total number of students undergrad is 4 years, 2,957, right? And of which boys are 70% and girls are 30%. And about 27% come from within the state, and outside the state is 71%. So the thing about Christ University is a lot of students come from outside the state of Karnataka because they want to study here. And the reason is they actually have a fantastic entrance exam called Christ University Entrance Examination, entrance test rather, CUET, and that really gets them students from all over the country to come and join there. And 20 students come from outside the country also. The faculty is 228 for 3,000, which essentially means that we're dealing with 1:13, 1:14 kind of a student-faculty ratio. For every 13, 14 students, you actually have one faculty member. Now, the important thing about the placement, because everyone obviously wants to look at the kind of placement that the university has for them to be, taking a decision on admitting these children there. Now, when I see the placement data here, I don't feel comfortable because it's based in Bangalore. That is my honest take at this point in time. Why do I say that? Now look at it. In 2023, they actually had 660 students as the first year intake. Admitted was 380 only, right? And graduating student is 373. Now the thing is, if you have an intake of 660, why did you admit only 380? What happened to the other 280? I don't know that at this point in time. Now this is data that I'm giving from the NRF 2026 data. I picked up the data from something that they submitted to the Government of India, Ministry of Education, Government of India. And from there, I'm picking up this data and putting it together. What I see is you actually have the intake first year sanction was 660, whereas what is admitted first year plus lateral is 380, and of which 373 students only graduated, which means 7 students did not even graduate. 280 were placed, right? 69 opted for higher studies, and the placement percentage is 92.11% is what they claim. That's because it's not 280 on 373, but it is 370 minus 69, which essentially brings it out to 304. So it is 280 on 304, because they're going to remove, whenever we talk of placement percentages, we remove the students that have opted for higher studies. Now, one of the things that we realize is that when the placements are good at undergrad level, people don't opt for higher studies. Like if you look at any of the IITs that you have in the country, especially for the most in-demand branches like CSE, IT, and so on and so forth, you don't have many students moving for higher studies. They take the first job that comes away because they want to first gain experience and then move for higher studies after 2-3 years of work experience. But in this particular case, they very clearly 69-70 students are opting for higher studies, which essentially means that there is something amiss here. But anyways, based on that, they claimed a 92.11% placement rate. And the worst story comes here, which is that the median salary is 5.16 lakh rupees. Now, 5.16 lakh for a student who is living in Bangalore is nothing. It is virtually nothing. That's because at that level you can't even survive, because your home itself would cost you about 15,000-20,000 rupees. A small, one room thing that you take in hostels also will cost you about 20,000 rupees, plus the travel cost, plus the food cost. It won't let you be, because when you say 5.16 lakh, your take home would be not more than 35,000. And within 35,000, it's very difficult to survive in a city like Bangalore. So that is what the problem here is here. That you actually have 70 students, 69 students moving for higher studies, and your median salary is dramatically low. So, and mind you, when you say 5.16 lakh is the median salary, and this we're talking of 2023, when you come to 24-25, it is 85.62% placement, and 6.03 lakh rupees being the median salary. But here also, when you see, admittance is 589, graduate is 538. So what you have here is about 51 students are not even graduating here, right? And most importantly, of those 538, only 387 were placed, 86 moved for higher studies, right? Now, they claim 85.62% as placement, but if I look at it as 387 or 538, what you're dealing with is about 70-75% placement, right? And the median salary is 6,03,000 rupees, which means you're dealing with 50,000 rupees per month as salary, right? Now the thing is, if we look at this 5.16 lakh, 5 lakh and 6,03,000 rupees also, what we're dealing with is, if you just put these numbers in practice, what we're talking of is about 50,000 being the median salary, which means more than 190 students here got a salary of less than 6 lakh rupees. You don't know how much is the lowest that they went out to, and that too when you're placing only 75% of the students. So there seems to be a problem here, because when you deal with 6.03 lakh, we are dealing with 50,000 rupees as gross salary. Your net would be about 35k. That's our experience, right? And mind you, this is a median salary. If you keep going down, the bottom would be about 20k is our opinion. And that is the problem that we're dealing with in this particular case, that while the name of the university is so good, at a placement level, this university seems to be struggling to place a student, which is very unlike what a Bangalore-based university should be. A Bangalore-based university should be placing many more students because it's the software capital of the country. And for a BTech student, they're unable to place is a challenge that we have. And earlier it was 5.16 lakh being the median salary, which means this 35 would be 30k. And the bottom would keep falling. Mind you, we're not talking about the best students. See, all the universities try selling you the best, highest LPA. What does highest LPA mean for anyone? You can actually get one person. I've known universities where the highest LPA is 1 CR or 2 crores what they claim. But the second best is suddenly comes down to 8 lakhs, 10 lakhs. That's because they want to use that one particular name by giving their own offer to someone who doesn't even accept, or because it is a dummy offer in a certain sense. But they claim that so that they can actually go for a marketing spree. But the second best offer, when you look at it, becomes from 2 crore, it suddenly comes down to 8 lakh, 10 lakh rupees. Which is the case here also. That one doesn't know how much is the highest LP and all. Of course, they talk of highest LP also. But when I look at the median salary and the number of students who are placed, right, it bothers me that so less number of people are being placed in a city like Bangalore, and the median salary is so low. That bothers me no end, right? Now, but anyway, that's the number that you have at this point in time. Now, if you look at the overall numbers, what they said, this is of course on their own website what they claim. They claim that admitted is 641 for the year 24-25. Graduating is 596, which means we're dealing with 45 students not even graduating. 427 placed, right? And 103 students moving for higher studies is what they claim, based on which they claim a 86.26% placement percentage. Now, if I have to actually add this 107, if it's 427 or on 596, you will exactly know what I am saying, that you're dealing with about 70% placement and not 86% placement. And the median salary is 5.96 lakh rupees. And it's been consistent, 5.96, 5.75 and 5.16. So what we're dealing with here is across the board, the median salary is CTC, gross mind you, is about 50,000 rupees, which means your take home would be about 35,000 rupees, which means you're just being there in a city like Bangalore where the placement is about 75%, which means they're not even placing all the students. And the median salary is so low. And just imagine if the median is so low, it will go down to about 4 lakh rupees possibly as far as the lowest salary is concerned. Now, having said that, what is the getting into the university? You obviously have to be in +2 level in Karnataka PUC, ISC, CBSE, NIOS or state boards. Must have studied physics, chemistry and mathematics. 50% aggregate in physics, chemistry and mathematics, and 50% specifically in mathematics, right? And those writing exams in March, May 2026 may apply using class 10th and 11th marks, must have successfully completed a 3-year diploma in engineering if you're dealing with lateral entry, right? They have an entrance examination called CUET, which is a 90-minute examination. It's skill assessment, write a given topic, max one A4 sheet within 10 minutes. Speak for 90 seconds on a given topic, that's a micro presentation. Then they have a personal interview of 10 minutes, and process mode is essay, MP, PI conducted in person at selected venues as per E-admit card and so on and so forth. So this entrance exam is very important for you, CUET, which is called the Christ University entrance test. Now, as we speak, May 3rd is the last date to apply for the examination, for the entrance examination. So just do it if you want to get into this. It is time for you to get into it right away, right? And release of selection process admit card for the eligible candidates is on May 5th. So May 3rd is the last day to apply. If you want to apply for this, you need to do it right away. Now, what are the fee that you have? The fee for, and by the way, this is only the tuition fee, mind you. For CSE, 11.3 lakh if it's Karnataka, and other states is 11.88 lakh. For BTech CSE Data Science, 10.48 lakh, 10.56 lakhs for other states. CSE Regular is 10.2 lakh, 10.28 lakh. CSE Cybersecurity 10.2 lakh. So essentially what we're dealing with is about 10 lakh rupees if you see, 9.84 lakh to 11.3 lakh is what we're talking about, which is the fee that you have for the 4 years. So the good thing about this university is that it gives you a 4-year fee so that there is no inflation that is hitting you as you keep moving up the ladder, right? And then for other programs, you actually have 9.2 lakh, 9.08 lakh and all. BTech Software Product Engineering, you actually have a 16 lakh kind of a fee. I don't know why it's so expensive. There is also an asterisk here. So I will at some point in time need to talk about this, but otherwise we're dealing with civil is 7.68, automotive is 8.04, mechanical 8.04, electrical 8.16, robotics and mechatronics 9.08, and electronics and communication 9.2. And the other states have 10 lakh. So they actually have an incremental 2 lakh for students who are coming from the other states outside of Karnataka. They also have merit scholarships, right? And based on marks, tests and attendance, of course, fee refund of 10 to 50%. And financial assistance, economically EWS candidates 0 to 90% they have, and they also have installment facilities. Students unable to pay full fees, pay fees in parts. That also they allow. And there's alumni scholarship. Economically weaker, you actually get a financial support from them. So they do support a lot of other ways of ensuring that the students can come in and study with them. Now, when we looked at the recruiters, the recruiters are the who's who. It says that when I look at the payment, the salary, it's a different case altogether. They have Accenture, Google, Goldman Sachs, Deloitte and all. Now, because they actually have, UG, PG and everything, one doesn't know whether these are, companies that came for your BTech placement. They're actually jumbled everything together. So we could not distinguish between whether they've recruited students from BTech or BBA or MBA or those kind of things. Because mind you, some of the programs of Christ in terms of BBA and all are very, very good, right? So that is one thing that we could not fathom. But otherwise, you have HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, Cognizant, Capgemini, PwC, EY. So you actually have many of the good companies going there for placement as Christ University, not necessarily for the BTech program, right? We also looked at where the students are placed. Mind you, whenever you actually see some of these universities getting TCS, Infosys, Wipro, Accenture, Cognizant and all coming for placement, remember the greater chances that your salary would be about 3.5 lakh rupees. Because all these companies for the last 15 years haven't increased their salaries. They've been sticking at between 3 and 3.5 lakh rupees. In fact, some of these companies like Accenture come down to about 2.5 lakh rupees also. But the need for a job is such that people still take up the job also. The simple thing is, whether you're paying 12 lakh rupees plus hostel plus everything, is it worth taking that kind of a job is a question mark in itself. But the need for a job in this country is such that people do take any offer that comes their way as long as there is some work and some payment that's happening. So a lot of these people, if you now notice, are like TCS. They are actually 368 students who are working at TCS at this point in time as we speak. Accenture, 687 students are working. EY, 1,421 students are working. Deloitte, 1,819 students are working. The question that we don't know is what profile of work they're doing. For example, 4,906 students of Christ worked at EY. What work were they doing? I do suspect that there'll be very, very clerical work is what I expect, because you can't have such volumes of people from one single university, which is not a premier university. You already seen the median salary, and now I'm talking of the numbers that we did. Accenture, 2,485 students worked at some point in time. TCS, 1,602 students worked at some point in time. Deloitte, 4,278 students worked at some point in time, which essentially means that they're doing that, the 3.5 lakh rupees kind of a salary, a front office person sitting there and doing the same thing again and again, which is what it seems to be the case at this point in time as I see. But having said that, because the university is good, because the university has been there for a long, long time, some of its students have obviously risen up the ladder and are occupying some very senior positions in some very, very good companies. If I were to look at the best companies on earth, the most valuable companies on earth, then I see in Meta about 27 students of Christ University are working as we speak. Apple, 61 students of Christ are working. Amazon, 441 are working. In fact, at some point in time, 1,815 students worked at some point in time at Amazon. NVIDIA, 20 are working, and Google, 109 are working. And even in Google, 661 students at some point in time worked at Google, which is a very good case to talk about. So the issue that we're talking about is that, of course, because it's been a university that's been there for a long, long time, the students would have grown up the ladder. But at a placement level, when you deal with a 5 lakh kind of a median salary, 5.5 lakh, 6 lakh kind of a median salary, and even there you're dealing with a 70-75% placement rate overall, then it calls for question, because you're sitting in Bangalore, where the best companies are there, but you're unable to place all your students. And even if you're placing the students, you're placing them at TCS, Infosys and all, where the salary is 3.5 lakh rupees, which is where your median salary comes down to about 5.5, 6 lakh rupees. That obviously is a question mark for us, right? And we also looked at where are the students who studied at Christ, how are they placed, wherever located. We found 85% to be in India and 15% outside of India, of which about 3% are in USA, about 2.5% in UK, about 1.5% in Canada, and then Australia and all. So obviously 15% of the students are world over, which is a good thing. But again, this happens when you actually are a Karnataka-based, Bangalore-based student who will at some point in time graduate and move on, which is where, and university has been there since 1969, 68. So obviously a lot of people would have moved up the ladder and moved on. So which is what seems to have happened here also, that 15% of the students of Christ are all over the world and not in India, and hopefully are doing a fantastic work and having great careers outside of India. And the others, of course, are in Karnataka itself, over 60% students are there, and that's what it means, right? The issue that we were talking about here is, for us, it's all about giving you an honest review of what Christ University is, because a lot of people have been asking us questions about Christ University. And by the way, I don't know still whether we actually have captured the Noida data, because they don't give it separately. And that is what bothers me, because I would want a university to be as transparent as possible. In this particular case, it was very difficult for us to find data also. All we could do is access the data from the NRF, which is Ministry of Education, Government of India, and present it to you. I hope it helps you decide for yourself of whether you want to join this university or not. And if you want me to cover any other thing, please write into me on the message box. I'll be most happy to cover it for you. Thank you so much. Namaste.